And welcome to a very special edition of Geekdom Q&A, where I answer your questions from the Ask.fm. And as you can see on your screen right now, Ask.fm is changed, or they have changed their layout. I'm not a huge fan of the way it looks right now. I don't like these orange letters. It looks really ugly. Second time this month they've changed their layout. Why can't they just go back to the old style? I don't like it. I don't like it. But that's not what we're here to do. We're here to answer Dragon Ball questions. And very special edition this week. And I know a lot of people out there are wondering, well, where's the Ask.fm been? Well, I've decided to try doing Ask.fm Q&As every 2 weeks, but we're going to make them special and make them longer. So joining me on this edition, please welcome the man who Black and Fist considers. He basically says that you and I are the two most knowledgeable Dragon Ball fans on YouTube, which is a very, very, very nice thing from Juan. Please welcome Mistare Fusion, also known as Lance. Hello, Lance.
That was very nice of Black and Fist to say that. I'll have to get him a fruit basket.
Yes. Yeah, well, he's Mexican, so he'll probably never mind. I'm not going to go there. So, anyways, I love Juan. No, thank you for being here, and we're going to answer, well, actually, before we even get into that, all right? Everybody pause the video, go to Mistare Fusion's channel. I have a link in the description below. Pause it right now. I'll let you know. Don't pause it. Let me hear what I have to say first. Go subscribe to Mistare Fusion and then pause the video. No, wait, no. Okay, listen. Pause. Okay, hear me out. What I want you to do after I'm done talking is
You really should have written this
I
down
I should have.
first.
All right, it's free flowing on this thing. Pause it. Go subscribe to Mistare Fusion, and if you are a Dragon Ball fan and you want to really revisit the series, the manga, and the anime from an analytical point of view, check out the Dragon Ball Dissection series, which most people already know about. I would hope. If not, go check it out. Lance goes, volume by volume, arc by arc, analyzing the manga, and then he goes and he'll do a special video where he'll analyze the anime adaptation of what we just saw, and it's really, really, really dissecting, because that's what you call it, Dragon Ball from an unbiased point of view, from a person who is a fan, because you are a fan of Dragon Ball, but you're not going to be a fanboy. You're going to really analyze the pros and cons, correct? Pretty much. Did I say it right?
Correct.
Yes, go and check that out. So let's go ahead and start, man. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. Yeah, subscribe. And what I'll do is I'll leave the Dragon Ball Dissection playlist in the description. So, do you think there should be more female fighters in Dragon Ball, Lance? From Amy.
I hesitate to use the word should because in general it's unless you're talking about should there be a good story or should there be good characters in general, I it's something that it could kind of go either way. I don't want to use female fighters to fulfill any kind of quota. Could Dragon Ball have used more female fighters? Oh, definitely. So many characters it seems that could have gotten more screen time in that result in that regard. I think possibly the two that stand out for me the most are number 18 and Beetle in the Buu Arc, who start out with as really important, really active characters, and then just kind of hang out and get killed by the end of that arc and don't really do much of anything. And it does seem that Toriyama has a problem incorporating female fighters. So I think that there's some definitely missed opportunities in that regard.
Yeah, and I did a video about the women of Dragon Ball, and I talked about how, some people think Toriyama's sexist, which is ridiculous because Aurelie, or Arali, if you watch the Japanese version, she's the main character of Dr. Slump, and then there's Tomato Girl Detective. Toriyama's done strong female characters. I think Amy's question is timely because, Lance, with Star Wars The Force Awakens and Mad Max, we've seen this kind of empowerment of female characters, plus Black Widow's been doing really good in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So maybe Amy's talking about possibly having like a really strong female lead. Not saying that Goku, would not be the female or would not be the lead that is. But maybe she means actually taking a female character and making her like a real Z fighter beyond just Pan.
I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think
I
it would be
obviously,
too.
I mean, I'll say this for pretty much everything is that the focus has to be in the character, not in her being female, but in her being a good, active, relatable, interesting character. So as long as somebody's doing that, then then I think it's fantastic.
Agree with you on that one. Now, Amy's follow up question here. This is the kind of questions I get here, Lance. I know this is kind of silly, but what if Broly was made canon in Dragon Ball Super with the same origin, but this time Broly's a girl? I can see Amy likes this whole girl power thing. I can see that's where you're going, Amy. I'm noticing this. And a lot stronger, but we see her train and not just have never ending chi like her male counterpart. Well, that's kind of what Lance was talking about, right? As long as the character's written good. And I don't know how you feel, Lance, because you have not dissected the Broly movies yet. But I don't think I don't think Broly's a very well written character.
No, I'm not over the moon about him. I'm kind of apathetic about him in general. I don't hate him, and I do think I think most of the backlash from Broly comes from people, uh, come as a response to people who are obsessed with Broly. So I think negative reaction toward Broly tends to be more of a hype backlash than anything else. Because Broly's just kind of, I mean, he's there, you know. Uh, in regards to the question. Maybe. I mean, they certainly been uh, doing things differently than in the past in terms of taking characters we've met before. I think Bardock's probably the strongest example, and Toriyama will do his own take on something that he didn't necessarily create. So I don't see it being out of the realm of possibility. I'd have to see where he goes with it. But yeah, if he actually makes Broly or Brolyana or whatever you want to call a female version, into something that is that is more interesting.
You know, it's funny. It's funny. 'Cause we're talking about like female. Yeah, I know. We're talking about female leads, and as a kid, and you did a video about this. I really, really enjoyed Final Fantasy VI, and I'll tell you one thing, man. I don't know about you. Maybe it's just me, but when I was watching Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I really saw a lot of Terra. You know, not just with in Rey, not just with like the character, but like she had her own theme. Tara had the which is an epic, freaking amazing song. And then you had just I just saw parallels there. Were you thinking that or not really?
Wait, was I thinking that in regards to female Broly compared to
No, no,
Taratina or?
Ray from The Force Awakens compared to Tara from Final Fantasy VI. I saw some similarities there.
No, I actually I never really thought about that before. I mean, honestly, I think that Rey is much more clearly the protagonist of her story than in Final Fantasy VI, where it does feel a bit more ensemble-ish. Where I mean, like where if I had to choose one person to be representative of that game, it would be her to be
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, me too.
But to be fair, there's a lot of that game where she's either unconscious or something or away from the party, whereas Rey is really clearly, the main focal point.
Without question, and she's going to continue to be. I like how in the promotional material they kind of made people think it was going to be Finn, but I knew. Look at the poster. If Pan went to SSJ4, do you think she would have pink fur, Amy? I think she'd have purple fur, like Goku and Vegeta do. Do you have any argument against that, or do you have anything else to say?
Are they purple?
It might be pink. I don't know, bro. I'm colorblind. I don't
Me,
know.
me, me too.
I don't know. All right. Well, then I guess when somebody calls it Super Saiyan Blue, we won't care. Okay. Let's move up here. Answer some different questions here. What's your view when movies and TV shows cast an actor of a different race to play someone who's always been white or black or whatever? Lance, what do you think?
Oh, we're really getting a lot of questions on along those lines of of changing an outward feature of a character, aren't we?
I did not plan this, man. I'm just moving up. I'm just moving up. I don't know.
Uh, I don't want to give like a sweeping answer because I really feel that it's a case by case basis kind of thing. If I mean it really sounds non-committal. I feel like I'm feeling non-committal about this, but it's one of those things where if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And obviously there are some characters where their background, their sex, their racial background, informs the character in certain ways that changing it would have to play into. But to a certain, for most characters, I don't think that is a problem. So as long as they get the right actor or actress and have a good story for it, then I don't have a problem with it. But I do think it's something you sort of have to tread cautiously for, especially for really well-established characters where there is a certain look uh, that people associate with.
I agree. Like for example, Django Unchained. Django's not going to be played by a white guy because that's
Yeah.
not the point of the movie, right? Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Now, would you watch an English dub of Dragon Ball Super if it's not Sean Schemmel as Goku? I don't think that people like you and I really care that much. I mean, maybe if like Ian James Corlett comes back to do Goku, I would probably watch to see how he does, see if he remembers.
Yeah, this does seem like a type of question, sort of. Almost, I'm not sure if it is or not, but it seems like it's the kind of question that's directed towards a Dub fan or a Sean Schemmel fan. It's like, would you even watch this if it wasn't him? For me, it's kind of in the opposite direction. I mean, I have nothing against Sean Schemmel, but since I don't watch the dub, period, and he has no bearing on whether he has no specific bearing on whether or not I watch it. I guess my answer would be no, because it wouldn't make any difference to me.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any difference to me either. I mean, I know a lot of people who will be hurt by it, though. You know what I mean? Too bad.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen though. Look, he's
Well,
not
I
going
mean,
anywhere.
it'll probably happen. I mean, it depends on how long this franchise continues to go. It'll have to happen eventually, most likely. There's no way you can do it forever. But
I mean, I don't want to sound morbid or anything, but Masako Nozawa is a lot older than Shenmue, and I do believe, Lance, that when the time comes for Nozawa to go on to the next dimension, I don't want to even think about that because I genuinely have love and affection for that woman. Um, I think Dragon Ball ends with her.
well, honestly, part of me kind of hopes so. I don't. I mean, I kind of hope it doesn't last too much longer anyway.
Yeah, for your
It's
sake.
ridiculous. And no. I mean, not just for my sake. I just, I feel that Dragon Ball had a great ending, a great conclusion to its run 20 years ago, and while I've enjoyed about 50% of the new stuff that's come out over the past decade or so, I'm okay with it being over. I'm okay with the story, you know, being wrapped up.
Me too. I was going to ask you actually a follow up question from me. How would you feel? And okay, because that you're right. Eventually, these people have to pass on or retire or whatever. How would you feel if at some point, they did a Dragon Ball series like The Force Awakens, where it takes place a significant amount of time in the future, and it's still Dragon Ball, but it's no longer Goku, it's no longer Vegeta. It's just new characters in the same universe, and Goku and Vegeta have become basically legends, basically like, figures that you heard about, like myths and things like that, like Luke Skywalker is in The Force Awakens, which is kind of funny because it's only 30 years. I mean, you would think that 30 years ain't that long of a time, but whatever. Right? Like 60 years ago, the Jedi were around. People forget. It wasn't that long ago. But no, anyways, how would you feel about something like that? So where it's like a new Dragon Ball. I mean, I don't think Toei has the balls to do Dragon Ball without Goku. But what do you think if they did? I think if it, what do you think?
I'm wary, and I also don't know if it would work for this particular franchise because and I think that's part of the problem I have with Dragon Ball continuing as it is right now anyway, is that Dragon Ball has always sort of been built being a fighting based series that it is has always been based around progression. And I personally think by the Buu Arc it had kind of gotten too far in that regard. There's really like where else can you go with it? So if you introduce introduce new characters, you have one of two possibilities, which is either to sort of keep upping the ante, based on Goku and the others, and have them be just as strong and still have seemingly nowhere to go with them, which would be difficult to write, I think. Or you'd have to sort of have them start over, and not be nearly as strong as Goku and company were at the end of the series. And then I think you'd have fans kind of going, well, this isn't nearly as epic, hardcore, as what I'm used to in Dragon Ball. This is stupid.
Yeah, some fans would say that because they don't have any patience for just letting the character develop. I mean, I think if you let the character develop, it could work. But you're right. Like it's almost as if it's a little. I hate to say it, but it's almost like too advanced for Dragon Ball to do something like that. Like people would reject it, like you said. You know,
Yeah.
people reject Force Awakens for dumb reasons. Why did Piccolo never teach Gohan the special beam cannon, otherwise known as the Makanko Sapo? Is he just incapable of learning, or did he just not need it? I think it would have helped a lot in Namek, put a hole through Frieza maybe. What do you think?
What do I think?
Why did Piccolo never show him that move? I mean, it's almost like asking why didn't Goku show the Z Fighters or Gohan or somebody else the instantaneous movement when you know it would have been
Yeah.
helpful in certain circumstances.
Or any number of moves that characters only did once and then never again. Or, um,
Right.
I guess I could just make something totally up here, and I'm
Head
going to
cannon.
say
Here
that
we go. Special beam head cannon.
I'm gonna say that that Piccolo was already becoming a better person at that point, and he saw the Makanko Sapo as too brutal, dastardly, and demonic a technique to pass on to this little boy, and thought it would corrupt him.
That's
I totally just made that up right now.
special beam head cannon. Well, you know what? You did what 90% of the Dragon Ball community does. The only the only difference
I'm not used to doing this.
I know you're not. You're extremely analytical. The only difference is that you did not claim it as fact, which many people right? By the way, Lance, I had a guy today on Facebook. And by the way, folks, Facebook is much worse than YouTube when it comes to the Dragon Ball community. Had a guy swear that Goku could have beaten Perfect Cell anytime he wanted to, but he didn't. So Gohan could do it. And talk about headcanon, bro. But that's not the best one ever. I got one for you. So a month ago, I had a guy. So I guess the community still has Gogeta versus Vegito strength debates, even though there's been several sources, especially in the anime, that pretty much tell us that the Potara fusion is more powerful. One person told me that they feel that that when you fuse with Metamor and Finger Fusion, right, which is the Gogeta fusion, that you're able to develop new techniques, and with Vegeta you can't. Complete headcanon. Nowhere in any, not even in the dub does it say that. Not even in the big green dub does it say that. And it's just totally made up. I don't know. I don't know.
I do not know either.
I don't know. Now, here's a good question. Isn't it kind of bullshit that Shenlong couldn't turn the cyborgs back into normal humans?
Yes.
All right, it is. I'll keep reading it just out of respect for the sender. He can restore life to a body that's chopped up into pieces, but then there's technology out there that can restore his body back to its initial form. But Shenlong can't pull some metal out of 17 and 18. That's true, man. Yes, you're right. It is bullshit, I guess, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially, maybe the parts that Dr. Garrow had removed were vital functions. They replaced them with mechanical bits, and Shenlong couldn't find them. I don't know. I mean, I guess at least when you're blown to bits, all the bits are still somewhere near each other. But it is kind of weird, especially considering like, yeah, you see like a portion of Frieza's face land on the ground in Resurrection F, and he can put all those back together. But I don't know.
That
I don't.
that Resurrection F like machine putting things back together is so bad. Like it's cool, like, but it's bad. Like, you know, it just kind of like Toriyama. I've said it before. Resurrection F was a missed opportunity. We talked about that already. Now, another question here for you. Oh, actually, I do have one other thing. Well, okay, we'll get to this question first. Okay, hi. You said that you. Okay, you said that you hate when villains are built up and then beat down in one episode, like Paikuhan beating Cell. How did you feel about Future Trunks killing Frieza, which was actually canon? Do you hate how that turned out? I'm gonna go first on this one, then ask your thoughts. I know you're gonna dissect this later on, but still, we'll get a preview of it now. I actually do not have a problem with Trunks killing Frieza, because the entire purpose of Trunks coming in there and killing Frieza and King Cold is to establish the power of Trunks and to reveal to the audience that Trunks is another Super Saiyan. In fact, the episode 120 where he cuts him in half is called Frieza Decisively Defeated Another Super Saiyan, which is supposed to be a huge shocker. If you're watching the series in order, right, you're not skipping around, you're watching it for the first time in order, that's supposed to be a huge shock, because to your knowledge, Goku is the only one who fulfilled the prophecy or whatever. Then Trunks shows up, and you don't know who he is. You don't know anything about him. You can take guesses because of the Capsule Corp jacket, and figure it out that way. So I think it was all, they had to kind of do that and have Trunks wipe out the previous villain, which, by the way, you think that's bad. Go watch Sailor Moon, 20 episodes of a villain getting wiped out by another villain at the end of the 20 episodes. It seems to be a thing in anime and stories in general. Hell, Power Rangers did it, We never even saw Rita lose. Lord Zed showed up and took over. She didn't even lose, man. The Machine Empire shows up and they both run away. So it's like, So how do you feel about Trunks beating Frieza so quickly?
Well, I think that the devil's in the details. That it comes down to what you said. He's the previous villain. It's not as if, okay, to compare this to an example of that it drives me crazy from the anime is when they take Colonel Silver and have him in several episodes where he's displayed as this huge hulking badass who beats up people and shoots at monkeys and defeats Pilaf's flying ship thing, and he's this huge terrible guy, and then Goku beats him in one hit. That's the kind of thing that bothers me. Frieza has already had his time. He's not the villain. He's not the main villain anymore. His arc is over with. He had a big, long, excruciating fight. Nobody can say that Frieza went down quickly. Quickly is a word not associated with the Frieza arc in general.
Hell no.
So it's not as if there was this whole arc of Frieza in the shadows, and then finally they come to fight him, and Trunks comes out of nowhere and cuts him in half, and that's the end. It's totally separate in a dramatic sense from that. He's not the villain anymore. He's the old villain, and like you said, he's just being used as a setup now. It's not his story anymore.
Now, how do you feel about the Paikuhan Cell thing? Because that one actually bugged me. And the reason why it bugged me is because Cell had just gone down to Gohan, and Paikuhan was very powerful, but I felt that introducing a new good guy who was that powerful at that time for only a 5-episode filler arc. This is the difference between Trunks and Paikuhan, in my opinion. Trunks was going to be around. His purpose, right, was to tell Goku and to save his life and to tell him about the impending future problem. Paikuhan's purpose was to fight Goku for 5 episodes, lose in bullshit fashion, even though Goku had no chance against Cell at that time. And Paikuhan knocked him out with one shot, which I think was also bullshit. And he never stuck around. Like, I feel like if Paikuhan had stuck around and actually meant something like Trunks did, I wouldn't hate it so much. But because it was just for a 5-episode arc, I thought was disrespectful to the entire Cell arc. What do you think?
Honestly, it didn't bother me that much.
Really, it has bothered me from the day that I got that crappy fan sub back in 1998, bro. It's
I mean, to be fair, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about those. I think I've only seen those episodes twice in my entire life, maybe.
not a fan
Um,
of the Anoyoichi Budokai.
no, I mean, I don't have anything against it. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of there. But I mean, I don't think it's flawlessly executed, and maybe especially if they had more time, then it could have been a slightly longer fight. But I don't know. I think its point is still very much there in the kind of message of Dragon Ball, which is there's always someone stronger, and Goku has now entered a brand new world, so to speak, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
and he's they're bigger kids on the block kind of thing. And since they are dead, I don't think it really matters that Paikuan's not around to like step in and do important things because they're dead. So it really doesn't bother me that much. It
It's
serves a purpose in that sense.
It's very similar to the Ginyu Force filler from the Namek arc when they show up and get beat by pussy ass freaking Yamcha, Tenshin, Han, and Chaozu.
Hey, be nice. Be nice.
You know what I mean. Um, and I'll be honest with you, I created a headcanon for that, and my headcanon is that if you die, you're right away you're still reeling from the death, so you're weak. So if I can, in my own mind, if I am thinking that, okay, Perfect Cell was there, but he wasn't that strong as he was on Earth because his body or his soul had not recovered from losing to Gohan, then it makes sense, right? That's my own headcanon. If you were in a band, what would you call it?
Oh God, I swear I have this conversation all the time, and I've written down so many of these. Now
Well,
you
I'll
have
tell
me on
you
the
one
spot.
thing, Lance. I did get a second guitar for Rock Band. So anytime you want to come over and do some Beatles, bro, I have two guitars now.
Ooh.
Yes, I do. For people who don't know, Lance lives about 45 minutes away from me. So yeah. Anyways,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I remember one we came up with at work recently, which was wailing, screaming sex.
I love that name. I love it, and especially if like you do this thing like the Graveyard Dead. You have the Graveyard Dead gimmick with the touring. I love it. Now, are there any movies that are so much like your life that it's scary? For me, there's this movie called Don John, which is kind of like no. Unless you've seen that movie, you won't get the joke. Are there any movies like your life that are that are so much like your life that it's scary?
I mean, I think it kind of depends on where I am in my life when I have certain movies that relate. I think like this time several years ago, I was sort of really relating to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Not that I've
Oh,
ever
that's a
had my
good one.
mind erased or anything, but
That's a
just in
classic.
terms of relationship thoughts. But
Dude, that's a classic movie.
I love that movie.
This is Jim Carrey, bro. He's got them. Oh, Truman Show's one of my favorites. That's another movie that's like kind of like you start to wonder sometimes
Yeah,
when you see
yeah.
that one. That's like another classic, bro. Jim Carrey's like serious movies are like all incredible. It's weird. Do you think if Super Buu absorbed Goku instead, would he be able to beat Gohan? Well, here's the thing: he did beat Gohan. When he absorbed Gotenks, Gohan had no chance. I don't really know what he means by this. Do you have any ideas of what he means? Because I feel like Super.
You mean is it Zorb Goku instead of Gotenks or instead of Piccolo or?
I think if he absorb, exactly. We need more information, okay? Because well, let me ask you. Let me change the question then and get your thoughts. If Super Buu did not absorb Gotenks and just absorbed Goku and Piccolo, would he be able to beat Gohan? I'm gonna actually say I think so. I think he would have with those three. What do you
Um,
think?
I mean, I'm not exactly. I mean,
It's tough.
would he be able to tap into the power of? Oh, I was gonna say Super Saiyan 3, but then again, Gotenks has that too, so it's not as if there's a big advantage that way. I'll just say yes. I don't know. Power debates are not my forte.
Well, and that's the funny thing is I'm very excited to hear you. It might be a while, but I am excited to hear you dissect the Buu saga because the power scale of the Buu saga is such a complete mess. I feel like you could do an entire video about
I don't
how
I don't know if I could do an entire video on that.
maybe several videos about how the scale is jacked up. I'll tell you one thing, Lance. One thing that I've noticed as I get older is that when I was a kid, and up until most of my fandom, I absolutely loved the Cell arc from start to finish, and I still do love it because of its great moments. I think it has great moments, especially in the anime. But the older I get, the more I start to realize that there are so many holes in that Cell arc. And there's so many issues with the storytelling that it's kind of losing its luster. I hate to say that because I still love the moments. I love the forms. I love the fights. I love the action. I love the concept of time travel and Trunks and, artificial humans and Goku's past coming back to haunt him. Like, I love all that stuff. But, man, the holes are like every time I watch that arc now, I'm like, why didn't Trunks talk to Kaiosama? Why didn't he find a way to go to Namek through his mom and get those balls to bring the Z Fighters back? There's all these different things where I'm like, this saga should have never happened.
Yeah, it's yes, I agree. And that's, again why I only have three scores left in Dragon Ball Dissection, and none of them are extremely high left. So yeah, without giving too much away, I agree.
You're starting to get more cynical as the time goes by. So,
Yeah,
here,
I have to work with what I'm given.
I know, and the thing that sucks is that like you want to love the series, but your goal is to dissect it, and if you do dissect it, you're gonna get those results. In the Buu arc, why didn't Goku go to Dende to get healed instead of this 1 minute powering up thing? What is he talking about? The 1 minute powering up? I don't remember that.
Well, okay,
The Kid Buu thing?
yeah, it's when he asks Vegeta to fight, or it's when Vegeta takes over for him. So Goku, because Goku says he needs a full minute to get to full power,
That's right. SSJ3
and then
full power.
yeah, and then it turns out that he can't. And so eventually they use the Dragon Ball wish to bring him back up to full power. Uh,
Because
that's
Toriyama.
that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, because they've teleported to Namek by that point. Like Dende and the others have, but obviously Goku could probably do that as well.
And you,
So
yeah. You know, Lance, a question that I get a lot, which you're probably going to talk about when you get to this part of the arc, there's a lot to talk about when you get there, is why didn't they just wish, like, Goten, Trunks, and Gohan to go to the Kai realm and have them all gang up on Buu? Because I feel like Gotenks, Ultimate Gohan, Goku, and Vegeta would have murked Kid Buu with ease if it's like 4-on-1, and they never did that. You know, it's again, it's that whole Toriyama thing. There's no answer. He just didn't do it.
yeah,
Here's one. Do you think if Majin Buu, Fat Buu, absorbed all the Z fighters in Battle of Gods, he could have taken down Beerus? My answer is absolutely not. What do you think?
uh, just to be contrary, I'll say yes.
Okay. All right. Let me see here. Okay, this question. Oh man, they must have known you were coming. Would you watch Batman 66, the 60s Adam West Batman TV show, if it came back but is set in the year 2000 with an old Bruce training Terry or Damian to be the next Batman?
Yes, definitely. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like they're mixing Batman 66 with Batman Beyond. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I don't know. In a way, it kind of reminds me of that episode of Johnny Bravo that had Adam West as a guest star,
I've
and
never
like
seen that before.
really,
Yeah, remind me if
I,
you don't mind.
it was amazing. It was actually one of the first times that Adam West sort of started that whole Adam West persona that he'd sort of become in Family Guy, of the sort of befuddled, this befuddled aging person. Although Johnny Bravo sort of took it in a different direction, had him be almost the superhero himself, where it's like every time he flexed, his suit would just rip off of his body, and and he had his own like Adam West mobile that he drove Johnny around in, but ultimately he was this complete buffoon and got everybody in trouble.
That sounds like it would be right up my alley. I did recently watch that Dexter's Laboratory episode where they curse. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I think I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, they have it uncut on YouTube. Apparently somebody got their hands on it. And I remember hearing that the only time that you could watch that episode uncut without the bleeps is if you went to the Turner. This is crazy, bro. If you went to the Turner Broadcasting Christmas Eve party, if you were there in CNN Center in Atlanta, Georgia, December of whatever year that was, they played it uncut for all the employees to laugh at, and I guess somebody got their hands on it. It's on YouTube,
Oh,
so
I gotta find that.
it's on there. It's easy. Just Google it or whatever. Do you think Dragon Ball and GT deserve Blu-ray releases? And by the way, folks, listen to Lance when he said boycott the Star Wars Blu-rays. Don't buy them.
Okay, that's a very conditional question because if it's asking me,
Yes, it is.
do I think they deserve the same kind of Blu-ray treatment that DBZ has gotten? No, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Absolutely not. But you know what's sad, Lance, is that you and I have the Dragon boxes. Super JAYAIN has like 6 of them. A couple other friends of mine have them. But the people who didn't get them when they came out, they're kind of screwed. They have to get the Blu-rays. There's no other release of the series they can get that's as good as the Blu-rays. It's almost like you have to settle for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean it is definitely settling, a very very significant settling. I mean to get into more technical questions though, I mean in terms of would one be possible, there is it would have to come from Toei at this point
Pony Canyon, right?
because Funimation does not have any film masters for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT. They have digibetas, which don't have that kind of native resolution that could be put into high definition. If they had film sources like they have for Dragon Ball Z, which is what they base their orange bricks and their Blu-rays on, that's the only way they'd be able to get that kind of resolution out of the series. So they would have to have that before they could make it themselves. Otherwise, it'd have to come from Toei, who have the original masters.
And they're not going to put it out because Kai was supposed to be the high definition Dragon Ball, even though they're missing half the story because they don't have Dragon Ball out. Z, but not Dragon Ball. Ugh. What can you do? Could here's what we were talking about earlier, Lance. Could future Trunks use the Room of Spirit and Time in his timeline, even though he used it twice in the main timeline? Well, he didn't know about it, but I almost feel like wouldn't. Okay, again, this is gonna Lance. I can't wait for you to dissect this. I'm wondering if you're gonna remember all these points. Why did Mr. Popo just fly down with his magic carpet and tell Gohan and Trunks, "Hey, come up to the Room of Spirit and Time. You can train for a year." Or even better. You mean to tell me, Lance, that Gohan in 16 years, or however many years it was, could not get strong enough to be 17 and 18? I have doubts about this. That's what I'm talking about. The older I get, the more I see that arc has problems.
It definitely does. But I mean, this is a very interesting question in terms of because we don't really know what it is that enforces these rules in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Yeah, because okay, what we know is that if you stay in there longer than the prescribed time, then the door goes away.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so I guess what would follow is if you'd been in there for as long as you can and then left and then went back in later on, then the door would immediately vanish, as soon as you go in there. But does that count since it's a different timeline where you have not been in there before? Um, would that still be in effect? In other words, does the dimension that the room of spirit and time exist in, is it its own separate dimension, separate from timelines? And is it the same dimension regardless of what timeline you enter it from, or does it stay separate like that as well? I don't know,
We,
but it is
we
fascinating. It is fascinating to wonder.
that is a yeah. I agree with you. Everything you just said. We don't know, but I'm gonna guess it'd be a different room of spirit and time. Who
So
is?
so
Go ahead.
so you think he could go back to his current timeline and use it for another 2 years?
I do think that. Yes.
Mm.
I do believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but like you said, there's no way to tell. Because I think every timeline has its own universe. In other words, what I mean to say is that I think there's an alternate timeline that has another Beerus.
Yeah.
I think
Oh
time
yeah.
travel.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. Now, who's your favorite non-canon character? Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm not gonna go into canon stuff because the word canon is irrelevant when it comes to Dragon Ball. Maybe he means who's your favorite non-Toriyama created Dragon Ball character.
I would
Do you
assume
have
so.
one?
Do I? Let's see. Let me see. Let me see.
Bardock is like borderline because he actually put him into the manga, so I guess he means like movie or like filler arc. I mean, I'll tell you mine if you want. Mine is Baby. I absolutely love GT Baby because he's one of the only villains that actually has legitimate beef and a legitimate backstory with Goku and Vegeta in them, and I like the fact that he can infest you with he can infest you through a wound and like a virus and take over you and make you into a zombie. I really like that. Like I feel like GT's got its problems, but I think that's one of the best characters that Toei's ever created, in my opinion.
I'm having a hard time thinking of anybody right now.
What's your
I'm
favorite movie villain?
uh,
I'm
I
just
don't,
throwing stuff at you,
I
man.
don't know if I have a favorite movie villain. They're all just sort of bland to me.
I agree. I agree.
uh,
Well,
like,
Hirudegarn was at least a little different.
I mean, Dr. Coaching's kind of cool, I guess.
Dr. Cochin. That's like saying pepperoni or whatever from movie 1 or that weird guy from movie 4 who throws the balls that has 4 arms. It's funny because people will sit there and say all this stuff about Dragon Ball knowledge, but Lance, I've been watching this thing since like '96, and I still cannot name all of the movie 4 characters. Like Doctor.
I can't either. I can't name most of the most minion characters in the movies. I don't know.
Exactly. I can name like the cooler ones because it's only 3 of them, but those like 5 Doctor Slug guys, I don't know. So you don't have a
I
favorite?
can I can name the henchmen from the first 2 Dragon Ball Z movies. At least I think I can. There's Ginger, Nikki, and Sancho from the
Yeah.
first movie.
Yep.
The second movie is one with really complicated names like
Because it's Japanese names.
Ebifuya, Mitsukatsun, yeah, Kishiman,
Yep, that's it.
something like that.
Kishime. Yeah, you're right.
Kishime, there we go.
Yeah. But which one is your favorite? Who's your favorite non-canon character? You don't have one, or?
Well, I guess I can just go with Cochin for now. He was fun.
All right. I actually like him a lot. Okay, here we go. Have you ever been bullied? If so, what for? I get bullied a lot. It's really getting to me. I'm gonna just say this. I did a video about bullying, and go look at my Speakdom 101. Did a video about how I was bullied and how it kind of messed with me mentally. So yes, I have been when I was a kid, and I'm sorry this is happening to you. Just understand. This is kind of a serious thing, Lance. It's not Dragon Ball, so I want to keep it fun, but I do want to answer this guy's question. Bullying is not a good thing, and I just want to let you know, just please don't let it get to you, and don't start thinking thoughts like you're not loved or you're not cared for, you don't have any friends. Just don't start thinking that. There's different philosophies as far as how to handle a bully. I don't want to tell you to get physical, because that's what I did, and I don't think everybody should do that, because it could lead to something really bad happening. I would probably seek advice from like a counselor or something, or somebody older. What do you think, Lance? Do you have any advice for this person who's saying they're getting bullied? I don't really know what to say.
It's definitely a complex subject, and I know that the people's attitudes towards it kind of shift over time. And now that things like the internet are involved, it's even become be even more pervasive. And that's not something I had to worry about when I was younger, because the internet was just sort of coming into popularity at the time. Um, I don't I mean first I want to say, like what you said, I'm sorry that you are being bullied, and it is very difficult to get through, and it's hard to see, the light at the end of the tunnel. um I think everybody's been bullied. I don't think there's a single person who hasn't felt, as a kid, that somebody has, not accepted them, or has made fun of them, because kids can be jerks.
Yeah.
But I mean, and as cliched as it sounds, it does get better. There are things that don't, that seem important now, that don't. When you look back, it's like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. I was definitely bullied too. Not to a huge extent, but I always sort of marched to the beat of my own drummer, and especially once I got into around middle school, people really sort of took issue with that. But and it's definitely easier said than done. But I think the best thing to do is to try not to let it bother you. I know this. I remember there was a time when I was in eighth grade. My best friend and I were on a newspaper staff together, and he was being made fun of to a certain extent. And I once asked him. I once asked him. I was like, how what these guys are making fun of you, and you never really say anything about it. You just sort of let it roll off of you. And how do you do that?
Mm.
And he literally looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, that's what I've always seen you do.
Huh. Well, there you
And
go.
yeah, and I was like, wow, I guess you're right. And I really think it does sound so simplistic, and it almost sounds almost condescending in a way. But I think I really do honestly think that the more comfortable you are with yourself,
That's true.
the less the opinions of other people bother you.
That's that's true. Actually, that's very on point. But then the problem gets to when they start getting physical, and
This is true.
that's when
I
it's like, yeah.
I guess I can tell a story about that, because I've gotten to that point too, and
You probably
I'm not
you kicked
I'm
the
not
guy's
using
ass,
this.
didn't you? You kicked the guy's ass, right?
I'm not using this as advice, especially because I know that people, they crack down, and if I'd been, but in middle school, I sometimes I rode the bus, sometimes waited in the car, turned around for my mom to get me. Um, but there were these guys that I would sort of hang out with while I was waiting for my mom to pick me up, and sometimes they could be jerks, just like middle school boys can be. And I'd usually just sort of take it and not really deal with it. But there was this one time they were just sort of like really getting like handsy, and it's like sort of like just sort of like pushing me around, stuff like that. And then at one point it kind of got out of hand with them, and he one of them accidentally slammed my head against the ground into the concrete. And at
Damn.
that point, I just like they all backed away because they knew they'd gone too far, and I had sort of lost it at that point. And I just sort of backed him into a corner, and he was apologizing, but I was just so pissed off, and then I just kicked him square in the balls.
That's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome, but it's
It
not
was
awesome, but you know what I mean.
I mean, it was right in front of the office, like the office door to the school too, and I'm amazed nobody saw that and I didn't get in huge trouble. But I don't know. I guess I just sort of I'm usually a pretty easygoing guy, but once that switch flips in me, I can get pretty angry.
Did you black out?
But no, I saw stars. I definitely saw stars. I do remember that clearly.
Yeah.
But and I remember like feeling the bounce and like my teeth clicking together kind of thing. It was hard. But yeah, that was my switch at that point where I wasn't gonna take any more crap. But
I respect that, bro. I
but
really
I
do.
don't necessarily. I'm not saying that as a recommendation. I'm just saying. I'm just being waxy nostalgic. I don't know if that's what I should be doing at this point, but
Hey man, this is Geekdom Q&A, man. We tell stories here, and I appreciate you sharing that. No, I've done similar things to you. Trust me, because I was bullied real bad when I was younger, real bad. I know what that's like. I had something similar happen to me. Where it was in high school though. This kid was being a dick. He knocked the glasses off my face, and I literally blacked out. Like I actually blacked out, and I started swinging at him, and I don't remember what I did. He poked me in my temple. And I don't know if like there's some kind of nerve in your temple that makes your brain like black out, but I don't know if it's exactly what happened to you, but I blacked out, didn't even realize what I was doing, and afterward we were cool afterward, but it's just sometimes you just snap, like you just say, and then you just kind of feel bad about it afterward, you know?
I will also say, as a blacking out sort of made me think of something else, is that kids don't really have as much awareness or empathy. It's still developing, and and in general, I think I've been a pretty nice guy. But I've as a kid I've said some not nice things to other people too. As weird as I am, and as much crap as I got for it, I remember there was a girl in elementary school that we sort of picked on from time to time. And I remember like in fourth grade, we were just sort of walking around the blacktop and just for me it was good natured, and she never really said anything like that really bothered her or anything. So I have no idea if it did or not. I just remember one time we were just sort of goofing around with her, and I like there was like a tetherball thing or a pole, like a metal pole of some sort, just sticking out of the blacktop, and I just like backed or walked right into it while I was making fun of her. And I think I blacked out for a second as I immediately recognized being on the ground after that. And she was the first person to ask me if I was okay. And I felt like
Jesus,
crap
bro. Oh
because
my
of that.
God. The
Like she
guilt.
she she was so genuinely concerned. So it's one of those things you don't even really think about. It's not. I mean, some people I'm sure can be general assholes, but kids can just do things and not even really think about how it's affecting other people until something hits them in the head and they realize, yeah, maybe I'm not being the nicest person right now.
That's just, and I'm assuming you were cool after that, right? With her.
Um, I mean, like I said, we never really had a bad relationship. So again, I'm somewhat looking at this from the perspective of an adult. I don't know if it ever really bothered her or not. If we really were just having fun, or if she really it really was being bullied. And I'm not even sure at this point. But so I mean, so we were always cool to a certain extent, as far as I knew.
Good. Yeah, because that's crazy. Yeah, you do when something like that happens, you do kind of feel like a dick. Uh,
Yeah.
all right. Let's get back to some wackiness here. Would you rather live in a world where Batman Triumphant was made and was the perfect addition to the Tim Burton universe, and because of that there was no Nolan Batman movies, or would you choose to still live in this post-Nolan Batman world?
Do you want to go first? You
No,
go first.
okay. Well, I'll go first in that. The answer is I would not give up the Nolan movies for Batman Triumphant. However, Lance, when I was a kid, I saw Batman Returns in theaters twice, and that's a very polarizing movie. Some people
I,
love
I
that.
love I love Batman Returns.
I
Let's put that out
absolutely
there. I love.
love the dude. I love you because I love that movie so much. Of course, '89 Batman's amazing. The dude, the whole Max Shrek thing with Catwoman when she, you thought she was dead, and the movie pans up, and you
Mm.
see her in the freaking skyline. I remember walking out of that theater as a fat, 10-year-old boy or however old I was. I think I was 8 or 10, and I was like, I cannot wait for Batman 3 because she survived and they play the music, and I just remember the audience applauded at the fact that she survived, dude. And we never got the freaking movie. I'm still mad about it. I wanted her to come back and team up with Batman and Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer, and we never got it. But I really like the Nolan movies a lot, so I don't want to give them up for a possible movie that may have been good. What do you think?
Hey, well, just to go back to the Batman Returns stories, I know for certain I was 6 when it came out, and I had the McDonald's toys, and I was definitely huge into Batman. And I draw Michael Keaton Batman all the time. I had all the action figures. Um,
I love Michael Keaton so much.
I do remember being absolutely terrified of it when I was that age, though. There's always one scene in particular too. And I got it. I got the movie on VHS for Christmas that year, Christmas of '92, and I watched it at my grandpa's house. And the one scene that I remember that I could not watch was the scene where Selena Kyle breaks down and destroys her apartment. I remember running out of the room until that was over.
By the way,
and coming.
I've had a couple of my exes do that, so I've
Oh
lived that
God.
one out. No, go ahead. I'm fucking around. Go ahead.
Although I mean, I think it's important to. I mean, so as a kid, I remember um, finding the Joel Schumacher movies more palatable because they didn't scare me, and I remember
Oh,
that.
they scared me, but for not those reasons.
And and I remember that that around that time, one of my best friends, told me like that he sincerely believed that the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were superior because they got you right into the action. It immediately starts with them getting suited up and going out into
God, and
to
ice
fight
skating.
crime. And I was just like I was like about 11 at the time. That's when Batman and Robin came out. And I sort of like nodded like okay, but there was something in the back of my mind thinking, I don't know if I think that's right. I guess I can enjoy watching those more and they don't scare me, but I don't know if I can agree that those are actually better. And it really was by the time I became a teenager, that's when I sort of brought out my old VHS tapes again and watched the Tim Burton movies and from a more mature perspective and really started to appreciate them. But in regards to this question, I mean, since you know, and Batman and Robin are part of the same universe, as dissonant as they are in tone.
Oh,
They're
a
in the same
bit.
universe as Batman and Batman Returns.
Yeah.
They follow the same continuity. So Batman Triumphant would have been the sequel to Batman and Robin. And I
Oh, I
don't.
thought Batman Triumphant was the sequel to Batman Returns.
No, I think that was the name of what would have been the follow up to
Actually,
Batman
you're
and Robin.
right. You're right. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me rephrase the question. If Tim Burton had stayed on to do Batman 3, I would have loved it. But okay, I'm sorry. By the time Batman and Robin came out, I didn't care about Batman, so no, I wouldn't have wanted Batman Triumphant. But go ahead to your point.
Yeah, well, I mean that pretty much is my point.
Oh,
Exactly
okay.
what you just said, is that it would have had to have been a. I don't know. And again, I honestly I still enjoy Forever and Batman and Robin. I watch them. I don't think they're great movies, but they're fun. They're fluff. They're camp. They're whatever. I don't
Yeah,
think they're
I agree with
great,
you.
but I enjoy them. But I don't think that any sequel to Batman and Robin would make me want to give up the Christopher Nolan Batman films.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing is, I would have absolutely just loved it if Michael Keaton had stayed on because to me, even to this day, all due respect to Christian Bale, Michael Keaton is my Batman. I mean,
Yeah,
that's he's
I agree.
he's just so good. And I'm telling you, bro, that freaking ending with Selena Kyle. Like I totally love Batman Returns so much. Just everything about that movie because it really does kind of stay in that whole line of a little bit of campy, a little bit of Burton. It is a more of a Burton movie. It's
Oh
Burton.
yeah, definitely.
The music, but just Danny DeVito, bro. You didn't invite me, so I
So I
crashed.
crashed.
Bro, what a great that movie, bro. Don't even get me started. That movie is so amazing when it comes to good guys and bad guys. And then like the when she does the backflips like meow and the place blows up. Like man, he wrote that movie so. And then of course Christopher Walken
I mean, to be fair, he didn't write that movie. He directed it. He didn't write
directed
it.
it. I'm sorry, you're right. I don't even remember who wrote it
It
actually.
was Daniel Waters. I don't know if you have ever seen the movie Heathers, but he wrote wrote that movie as well.
Well, he's very good. I think for this franchise, just everything, just every line in that movie, how just the pussy I've been looking for, like little sexual jokes that you don't get when you're a kid, and you grow up, you're like, oh, I get it, and you mean frame him. Danny DeVito was so amazing in that movie, and then
And the,
yeah.
the score is fantastic. Catwoman's theme, that it gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, dude, I just, dude, her first appearance, I am Catwoman, hear me roar, and she freaking does the backflips and cuts that guy's tic-tac-toe. Man, I love that movie, bro. I'm gonna watch tonight, bro. Every time I think about that movie, I mark out because of how. And then what about like when Max Shrek goes underground and he's like, "Hiya, Max, remember me? I'm Fred's hand." You want to agree?
Oh god, I love that.
Bro, it's so like every scene. And then not just that, but Christopher Walken, bro, as Max Shrek. She tries to.
That was the first movie I ever saw Christopher Walken in.
Me too.
6. I mean, so I always thought his hair looked like that in real life, but
Me too. Me too. And it's funny because he's still Christopher Walken, and he's the real villain of the movie. When you really think about it, he is the real villain of that whole universe. And like, she tries to blackmail me. I'll throw out a higher window. But until then, I got bigger fish to fry. There's that scene. What about the part I never got this till I was growing up when he's like, you're gonna fill the void in Gotham, and then Danny DeVito's like, I'll fill her void.
yeah.
I never got that till I was growing up. But it's like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm glad you like that movie that much, bro. So I'm not the only one, who's fanboying out over that movie.
There's a guy at work who I always get into arguments about that over because he hates that movie.
It's so polarizing. Oh, it's a Burton movie. It's not Batman. Yeah, but Burton and Batman together just fit back then.
Yeah.
It just fit. I don't know. I like the 89 one.
Stinking city like a hawk from hell.
Oh, dude, that whole scene, bro, and it was all practical effects with the cars flipping. None of that stupid CGI shit. Oh, I loved it, bro. Welcome to the Oswald Cobblepot School of Driving. Gentlemen, start your screaming.
I had my first childhood disappointment based on that because I was so excited about the Batmobile, breaking up into the smaller Bat missile. Which
I had it, bro. My mom bought it for me, bro. The Bat missile.
Yeah, see, I asked for it for Christmas, and Santa Claus brought me the one from the first movie instead, which was still really cool. I still have that Batmobile, but it did not turn into a mini car. Its sides didn't break off. It was cool, but it was not the Batmobile that I asked for.
Dude, here's a fucked up thing. Like so I had the Bat Cave. When I was a kid, I had the Bat.
So did I.
Did you have the one that was like the house and then like the garage and then the cave?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's the one I had. And then I had the
but it was still remade from the first film. Like the Arctic part of it was just a redress of Axis Chemicals. It was the same Bat Cave they made for the first movie, and they just changed Axis Chemicals into Arctic land.
I never even noticed that. Well, there you. I never noticed that. And
like as that tank that you can pull off and fill up with water. That's supposed to be the vat of chemicals the Joker falls into. It has like the guard railing up top.
Oh my god, you like changed my childhood.
Yeah.
I was like, where is this in the movie? Oh, I thought it was like the shit that they use, like the Max Shrek sewage sludge stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean it's supposed to be now, but originally it was Axis Chemicals.
I need a cold drink of ice water. What about the part, bro? Oh, I love this movie when he's like, Penguin, killing kids. Don't you think that's a little? No, it's a lot. Man, man. You know what? That might be the best Batman movie ever. Fuck Christopher Nolan. Oh my God, everybody! Oh, here comes the comment section now. How could you say that? Lance, man. Listen, man.
Yes.
I went to the IMDb, Lance, bro. I went to the IMDb top 100 the other day. I can't even believe this. Listen, number 1 is Shawshank. Number 2 is Godfather Part 1. Number 3 is Godfather Part 2. Number 4 is The Dark Knight. Now, let me just say something. I love The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is not the 4th best movie ever made. I'm sorry. It's not. It's not even in the top 20 or even the top 50. The Dark Knight is ahead of Empire Strikes Back. It's ahead of A New Hope. It's ahead of Ben-Hur. It's ahead of Pulp
Out of
Fiction. It's ahead of
Citizen
Memento.
Kane.
Citizen Kane, Casablanca. All credibility's gone. That's all I'm saying. All right.
I've really got to get back to my Batman series on my channel.
When
I,
was the
I
last time you did a Batman video, bro?
It was September of 2014.
Damn. Wasn't that long ago. Seems like longer. I don't know. Go back and do it. Now, this next question here. Favorite Dragon Ball arc. We know yours is the Red Ribbon Army. Is that still the case now?
Yes, it is. I mean, although, I mean, again, like the scores are what I think is the best, not necessarily my favorite, because I said at the time
Ah.
the Piccolo arc was my least favorite arc, but it still got two instead of one. So
So what is your personal favorite arc? I'm guessing it's the Saiyan arc.
the and this is giving something away for Dragon Ball Dissection, but the anime version of the Saiyan arc is my favorite arc.
Okay. Okay. No, I mean that's you already kind of covered a lot of it already, so I'm curious about your thoughts on the Frieza saga because there's a lot of good stuff in there, but it does kind of tend to drag on.
Hey,
Um,
wait! You didn't answer the question. Now what's yours?
well, like I said earlier, I would say it's the Cell arc, but I'm starting to change my mind about that. To be honest, when it's always been either the Cell arc or the Saiyan arc, and I'm probably gonna agree with you in that it's probably the anime version of the Saiyan arc. Like honestly, like the Cell arc, but the only reason the Cell arc has such a special place in my heart is because of all the amazing moments. But if you take away the moments and just look at it from a story perspective, it really isn't that good. But you know what? I guess it would still be my quote favorite. But actually, when I think about it, I probably have more fun watching the Saiyan arc start to finish than I do anything else. You know, everything it's just a perfect story, and everybody gets
Yeah,
wiped out.
yeah,
It's
I
just,
agree.
it's like it really could have been the end of the series right there. If they would have killed Vegeta off, they could have ended the series right there. So, I like your videos. You sound like you smell nice. Well, you're wrong.
Is that well? No, is that
Oh,
true? Let's cover that. What do you smell like, Danny?
I usually smell like Curve Crush or Curve Crush or Curve anything something Curve. All right, from the '80s. So that's what I smell like. I don't know if you like that. Whatever. Favorite Dragon Ball Z movie, not including Fakata no F and Battle of Gods, from Jack Johnson. What is your favorite Dragon Ball Z movie? I know you're not a big movie fan, but you have to have a favorite.
Yeah, that's pretty simple for me. It's definitely the world's strongest guy.
Yep, that's also my favorite. Konyo de Ichiban Yatsu. Eat that fucker! Who's the bigger weeb? No. The fact that I said that on the air, bro. Dude, I said this on Twitter. Calling me a weeaboo, and I know you hate that word as much as I do because I've seen your video about it. A weeaboo to me, bro, is like using the N word for a black person. It's like, it's bad, man. It's bad. Lance has no response.
I have no
All
response.
right. Okay. I was gonna ask you this one, but I'm not gonna ask you that. It was one about Oob, but we haven't seen it in the Super, so there's really no point in talking about that. Um, and some of these are very hard to answer, Lance. Like, how long would it take Frieza Saga Krillin to go across Snake Way? That seems like I don't even know how to even answer that.
I don't
Oh,
know.
that's a tough one. Okay. Let me see. I'm looking for one that would actually be a decent question so that you and I can really dig into. And then we'll just wrap it up with a couple more. We'll be out of here. Okay. Would you like to see another series after Super for Dragon Ball? I think I know what you're going to say. This is
No.
from Ian. All right, I kind of agree. Ian Toledo. Super fills in the 10-year time skip, so how about a series after 10 years done right,
No.
of course. Nah, I'm with you. I mean, I would love to do videos on shit, but because you're okay. I know you also are kind of tired of the story, but nonetheless, you still want to finish Dragon Ball Dissection. For me, I have a lot of Dragon Ball videos planned, but the more stuff they add, the more videos I have to do, which is good for the Geekdom 101 brand, right? But I don't know, like I'm kind of with you in that. At some point, this does have to end. Or
Yeah.
it
Oh,
could.
yeah. Again, I mean, just to be clear, it's not because, it's not necessarily because I want to run out of Dragon Ball videos to make. It's just because I think that I think it's good. I think it's run its course, and it's good. It's good where it is. It's good where it is. It doesn't need to keep going forever.
I agree. It is good. I agree. Are you in this? Oh God, no. I thought somebody was. This is a very bad question. I'm not gonna ask that question with you, man, because it's dumb. Okay. This is actually a pretty good question. We might be able to talk about. When Frieza was taking over the universe, why didn't the Kais do anything about it? Supreme Kai came to Earth to stop Buu, but no one does anything to stop Frieza from doing whatever he wanted. This is actually a pretty good point. Buu was a much bigger threat, but why didn't, Kaioshin or any of the Kai step in to stop Frieza from destroying planets? I'm guessing it's one of those things where deity should not get involved against unless like there's a really major threat that could screw up the entire galaxy. That's my headcanon, though. What do you think?
Oh, see, I think prior to some of this new stuff, it would be really easy to say that, and I would totally agree with that. But God, now you have Beerus coming in and eating dinner with King Vegeta and try apparently convincing Frieza to and everybody knows about this guy. And this is getting maybe a little bit off topic, but I love Beerus. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't like
Yeah.
the idea that he is so involved in things. All these people seem to know who he is. Um, so it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, well obviously the Kaios aren't going to get involved in Frieza's stuff because it doesn't concern them. But then you have Beerus on who know they know each other, right? So it does I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and it's almost. Well, I feel, Lance, and you haven't really watched Super. It's actually worse than Super. They've added more BS. It's almost like they're doing the George Lucas thing, where they're trying to connect everything.
Connect every oh yeah, I know that I hate that.
I don't. Yeah, it's cool to connect one or two things, but man, that's a lot. Yeah, I agree. All right, Star Wars question. All right, and we'll do like two more, and then we'll be done. Have you played Star Wars games like Knights of the Old Republic and Jedi Exile? I think it would be fantastic if we had movies that had a protagonist that was exiled by the Jedi and the mythos of the legendary Jedi and Sith warriors from Brian Valladares. I have played KOTOR, but I've never played Jedi Exile. What about you?
I mean, I've played Star Wars games. You see, I mean, he actually didn't ask if we played either of those. He said if we asked if we played games like those. Although I don't know if, because I've never played any MMOs, so I don't know if I can even say I played games like those. But I have Super Star Wars, Super Return of the Jedi. I
You don't have
have
Super Empire?
I don't have Super Empire. No, I didn't. I never managed to get that one.
Did you ever beat Super Return of the Jedi? 'Cause it's damn near
I
impossible.
haven't beaten either of them. I haven't even gotten close. Not
I
even on
beat
PC.
Super Star Wars, but not Super Return of the Jedi. That's the one that's
Um,
impossible.
I have Shadows of the Empire, and
Of
I
course.
have
Yeah.
beaten most of that. I think as a kid I had a friend beat some of the harder levels for me. I should probably go back and do that. I've beaten Rogue Squadron. I've beaten Rogue Leader. I have Episode One Racer. I think that's about as far as my Star Wars game experiences have gone.
He's asking about movies that have like a protagonist that was exiled. Well, now that Disney's doing the anthologies, they could really do anything they wanted. So I guess I could twist the question for you. If you, Lance, if they put you in charge, if they said, Lance, we want you to come up, not write the movie, but just come up with an idea for an anthology film, what would you do? A Star Wars anthology movie.
I don't think I'm the right person to ask this question.
Okay, what character do you think deserves their own movie? That's another good question. If it were up to you.
Hey, okay, you mean okay? Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead
Hmm.
and put this as a I am forced to do this.
All right.
um, not necessarily that I would immediately choose, but if I had to pick an already established character, is that what we're talking about? A character who already exists in Star
Yes,
Wars?
if they told you pick a character and somebody, let's say a good writer, Lawrence Kasdan, is going to
Ooh.
create a movie based around that character. Solo's already got one coming. Boba Fett's already got one coming. Ewan McGregor is supposed to be in negotiations as we speak to play Obi-Wan in a trilogy they're going to do. Who else do you think deserves their own movie?
Can I say can I say B. Arthur's character from the holiday special?
You say whatever you want, bro. Oh my God. I was thinking you were going to say like Yoda or
No, no,
Bib
not definitely,
Fortuna.
definitely not Yoda. I think Yoda is best as a mystery.
Do you
That's
think? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
As I say, that's one of the things I agree with George Lucas about is that knowing less about Yoda is better than finding out more
Well, you
about
should
him.
have told George Lucas from the prequels that. Me and Xeon actually had a discussion about this yesterday on Skype. I honestly feel, Lance, that if they were to go back and, all right, let's rewind time here with the prequels. I think that the prequels actually hurt Yoda's character more than anybody else because not only was he an idiot, but it kind of was the antithesis of what he was in the OT, and I
I
really,
totally agree. I mean, I'm not saying that he wasn't screwed up in the prequels. I'm just saying, as far as the philosophy goes of not finding out where Yoda came from and what's his backstory, I agree with that. I agree with that philosophy. But I mean, he definitely got screwed up in the prequels in so many ways.
yeah, I almost feel like if they should have not even shown him that much. Like maybe just shown him in the council and that's it. I almost feel like they
Yep,
should have.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
plus, I don't know. There was on this forum I frequented for many years, originaltrilogy.com. There was actually someone actually analyzed Yoda's speech patterns based on the various movies because Yoda's very much known for his unique syntax,
Which he
but
doesn't do that much until the
exactly,
prequels.
yeah. The fact of the matter is that outside of his quirky, Muppet persona that he uses on Luke before he finds out who he is, Yoda does not, talk that way for the most part when he's being serious. Then the prequels come along and like, oh, that's what Yoda's known for. We'll just write that in every single line, every single thing he says. And it gets to the point where there were parts in the prequels I could barely parse what he was saying. It just got so ridiculous. Like I remember there was like to the forward command center, take me. That just sounded freaking stupid.
Oh my god.
It's
Well,
like it's like when it doesn't work anymore, don't stick to your guns to that. Just use some common sense when you're writing these lines.
yeah,
If it doesn't sound right, don't use it.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I totally agree. Like it was well that whole the writing in those movies, man, was so I don't even. It's just strange. Just I'm not gonna go in here and we could do 5 hours on the prequels because Xeon and I talked for about 3 hours, and that's not even the longest convo I've ever had on the prequels. I've actually talked for like 8 hours straight about the prequels and things they could have done better. So why would we like even talk about it? Um, you know what I mean? Like it's just so much. And I'm pretty sure you did a couple videos on it, but you've never actually reviewed the prequels, correct, on your channel?
No, I've only done two videos specifically related to Star Wars, and one of those is about Return of the Jedi. Another one was just a small thing about the Blu-rays.
Yeah, the boycott the Blu-rays.
Yeah,
So
I mean, although that Return of the Jedi one was the very first review content I ever put up for my channel.
yeah, I know. Old school. Now, this is the last question of this Q&A. Thank you, Lance, for being on. Let's see if we can knock this one out. Internet Raveler asks, how can you love Goku when he gave a second chance to Frieza? The evil emperor who enslaved and murdered millions of life forms. Try to compare Frieza to Hitler. Now, do you still love Goku? I can't. This is a good question, I think, because he makes a good point. I mean, it's not about loving Goku. It's like you look at Goku, I think, as he's kind of a bonehead. Same thing with Vegeta. They're all like kind of dumb. We've talked about this before in that all they want to do is fight and they don't think logically about the possibility of a problem. And let me ask you a question, Lance, and you have not dissected this yet, so we're going to get a preview of your mind here, peeking into your mind. When Goku gave Frieza that second chance on Namek, he gave him the key. What, in your opinion, was it because he knew he would fight him again and he wanted to keep him alive so they can fight again?
Uh, it's
Or was it
difficult, and
real
I
mercy?
that's a really difficult one for me, and one a topic I know I'm going to be getting into in Dragon Ball Dissection at some point, because
Goku being a
I
dumbass?
I have a lot of opinions on how the Goku character is developing in these last few arcs, and some to some certain extent I agree with. I might be off the popular opinion of that. I don't know if I'm going to get too much into that right now. Um, do you mind if I just answer the question as he put it?
Whatever you want. You do
Okay.
whatever. Go ahead.
Um, in general, I mean, and this isn't something I'm just going to go. Off of the exact wording of second chance. I'm not really gonna get into why he did it, whether it was for selfish reasons or for not. But in general, in fiction, I feel it is something of a trope for a hero to show mercy to a bad guy, only for the bad guy to turn around and try to use that as to their advantage. And
I mean, Shakespeare
so
did it.
then it makes yeah, it's one of those sort of morality type things where the audience doesn't want to see the hero be a cold-blooded killer type thing. I have you at my mercy. I'm gonna cut your freaking head off kind of thing. But it becomes okay if the bad guy takes that mercy and goes like, "Screw you! I'm still gonna try to kill you." Then it's okay for the good guy to kill the bad guy like that because you had your chance, and now he
Yeah.
has to do what he has to do. So it happens all the time. I mean, I think the first example that comes to mind that is in Star Trek 3, where Kirk is fighting Christopher Lloyd
Yes.
on the Genesis planet, and it, like even when he falls off the cliff, Kirk still tries to pull him back up, only for crew to try to pull him down with him, and that's when he kicks him in the face and does his "I have had enough of you" William Shatner thing, and kicks him to his death. But yeah, but it's only after he shows him mercy that he's allowed to go, okay, screw you, I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah, it's a Shakespearean thing. I've seen it. I mean, I'm trying to think of where else I've seen that before. I don't want to say Han shoots second. That's a
Yeah,
very bad
don't.
example.
No.
Ugh. But it's been done before. Yeah, actually, I think a lot of Arnold movies do that too. Like when he's got the villain like beaten, and he's like, "I'll let you live," just don't hurt anybody else, and then the guy tries to kill him again. Bruce Lee movies also. He'll let the villain live, and then the villain will come out with like a claw and slice him. It's like, okay, now it's on, asshole. So it is a common thing. But I guess the question is, does that,
Dude,
huh?
yeah, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
does that take away your love of Goku, or your, or
No,
do you? Yeah, okay.
no, it doesn't because um, and it's kind of the same way where people like if someone complains about Vegeta letting Cell become perfect, and someone goes, yeah, well, Kuririn, he could have used the remote, to stop number 18, so he's just as much to blame. But the fact of the matter, at least for me, is I always, even if it's not the smartest thing to do, I can always at least understand someone who shows mercy. I can at least
Even
uh,
though Frieza killed his best friend and his race, you're saying that you can still
I
forgive.
can I can sympathize with the decision to not kill somebody, um, even if it might be smarter to do so. And actually, funny enough, I was just watching a review of Doctor Who's Genesis of the Daleks,
Hmm.
where the Doctor is sent back to when the Daleks are first created and has a chance to destroy them. And he has like these two wires he has to touch together, and he says, gives this big speech about how, if that makes him, how could he be any better than them, if he were to wipe out this entire race, kind of thing. Where even though it'd probably be a better idea for the sake of the universe to not have them exist, he still can't bring himself to do that.
It's yeah, and actually that's a good point because that's gonna. I'm sure you'll talk about this very in depth when you get to the Cell arc because Bulma brings up the fact that we can kill Dr. Garo before he even makes these things, and then I forget who said it, if it was Goku or Kuririn or whatever. He's like, hey, he hasn't done anything wrong
No,
yet.
that was Goku.
It was it, yeah. Okay, he's like he hasn't done anything wrong yet, which that to me is a little more likable than the Frieza thing, because the Frieza, if he would have killed Frieza for me, I don't think it would have taken anything away from Goku. But I am I'm very anxious to see where you take Dragon Ball Dissection because the Cell arc is the bonehead arc, and the Buu arc is just as boneheaded. But dude, if you have a counter, like if you actually sit there and you count up all of the different, and I know you probably won't even have time to do this, but maybe you will, all of the different ways that arc could have gone through causality and through like alternate theories of what they could have done smarter. Not saying to do a what if, but I'm saying what if Vegeta did not allow Cell to become perfect? What if Gohan had finished Cell off quick enough? What if Gohan, what if 16 had never died? Well, there's all these different things that could have happened in that arc that would have changed everything and been a better outcome. What if they actually did, like, maybe not kill Dr. Gero, maybe arrested him or kept an eye on him or destroyed the
Yes.
laboratory? They could
I
have
was, I was,
destroyed
I was,
the.
I was, yeah, I was about to say that myself. It's like, no, you're right. I would not have agreed with him just going up to Garrow's front door and snapping his head off or something.
Sarah
But but
Connor,
but but yeah,
yes.
but there are certainly many other proactive steps they could have taken to keep that from happening.
Exactly. And it's like, it's like the whole arc is so boneheaded. You know what I mean?
Oh yes,
And the
yeah, I know
Buu,
what you mean.
yeah, and the Buu arc is very similar. But we'll see. We'll see. Whenever you get to those videos, Frieza arc is next, as of this taping, or Namek arc, whatever the hell you want to call it. Even though I believe you're going to be doing no, you're doing the Piccolo anime first, correct?
Yes, but that should just be one video.
And I was gonna ask you, just so a preview of things to come. Are you gonna be doing the entire Frieza arc in one of two, like from the entire time on Namek, or are you gonna cut it up into like two division points? Because I know it's so long that it might. I'm just wondering how you're gonna do it.
No, I mean I don't have I only have three arcs left: Frieza, Cell, and Boo, so it's not
I
going to be
see.
divided
So you're not gonna
into
do like Namek and then Frieza, or like Artificial Human then Cell, even though,
no.
and I'm sure you know this. I actually like the long arcs in the sense that I like how they have like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Like, I'm sure you picked up on this, but like the Frieza arc, for example, Act 1, to me, this is in my own head, but it kind of is the way they wrote it. Act 1 is like they get to Namek, and then like the Ginyu Force shows up. Then Act 2 is like from the Ginyu all the way to like Frieza fighting Goku, and then Act 3 is Frieza, Goku until the end. That's the way I always saw it, like three different acts. But to me, I feel that the Cell arc is actually the structured better in that Act 1 is Trunks shows up in episode 118, and then that ends when the artificial humans destroy the Z Fighters or beat them up in episode 139. Because that's like the end of that arc, like the end of that act. Like that's like, if you're gonna take a break, that's the place to do it. And then Act 2 would be from episode 140, which is Piccolo going to Kami and getting the fusion, all the way to Cell becoming perfect and the Cell game, right before Cell game starts, and then Act 3 is the Cell game. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, they kind of divide it up kind of like that. Like, you know how in the Buu saga it would be Great Saiyan Man all the way to Vegeta sacrifice. That's Act 1. Act 2 would be from there to Gotenks, maybe, and then Act 3 would be. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying I've always noticed that. I'm rambling.
No, I mean I don't. I mean they're definitely different acts, different beats, whatever you want to call them, within arcs, and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought about doing a video
but
about that, but I wouldn't even know how to even title it, or even I don't even know.
But I only take I think saying taking issue is a strong word, but I disagree with people who are sources. And again, I mean, this is not coming down on fans because official sources from Funimation to Toei all seem to do similar things too, like cutting the Frieza arc into two separate arcs, or the Cell arc into two separate things. Those two especially kind of drive me crazy
Me too.
um,
It's
because
just easier to do
just to take
Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, Buu, right?
Well, it was because okay, I don't have. You mentioned you like the long arcs, but it's not because I have any preference for how long an arc should be. It's just because an arc needs to tell a complete story,
Yes.
and if you start, for me the most for me the big example is the Cell arc, or what people call the android or artificial human arc,
Yeah.
starting with Trunks and ending with the characters being beaten up by number 18 and number 17. There's no story there. Nothing has happened. Nothing has resolved. It's just Trunks comes from the future, warns them about these artificial humans. They fight them. They lose. That's not an ending. There's
Yeah.
not not, not it's
Yeah.
it's part of a story.
I
It's
agree.
a, it's a,
It's
it's a
Act
beat.
One. I see that
Yeah,
as Act One. It's like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just saying that I agree with you. Everything you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Yeah, but exactly. It's an act. It's a portion. It's an episode. It's whatever you want to call it. But it's not a complete story in and of itself.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and it's the same thing with Frieza. You know, like if okay, so the Ginyu were defeated. That's not the end of a story. The heroes haven't accomplished anything. Nothing has been resolved. That's not an arc. That's not a story. It's not a saga. It's just you've reached the end of a beat. You've reached a sort of shift. You
Yeah.
know,
Now what's next? Type thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I really noticed that with episode 139 when the Z fighters get beaten up, and the androids or the artificial humans they leave. That's like because the very next episode, I like this. This is actually good writing. Very next episode, everything changes. Piccolo goes. They hit the reset button. Piccolo goes to the heavenly realm, and then we start getting the hints of Cell because God Akami's talking about, oh well, I'm sensing this and that, and then Cell appears a little bit later. So I do like that, and I agree with you. I think it is one big arc. So I feel like the Frieza saga is gonna end up being like a 10-part thing for you, or maybe more than that, like maybe a 15-part.
I'm honestly not sure. I mean, yeah, again, like you said, in terms of preference, if if I could justify it, yeah, I'd be much happier, I suppose, if they were smaller, more easily manageable chunks. But they're just not. And
And you got to review
it,
the
it is.
Bardock special at some point in there too, right? Because that happened
Oh
during
yeah,
that
yeah.
arc.
I have plans. I have plans for Bardock. I've been thinking about this for quite a long time. But it is. It's like I look at my list that I made years ago, and it's like, oh wow, I've gotten through 7 story arcs. I've really come a long way. Only 3 more to go, and then I remember, oh yeah, that those 3 arcs are half of the series, half of the entire series.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just such a disconnect there between the number and the actual content. Because
The pacing just changes as the series goes on and on.
yeah,
Well, anyways, thank you, Lance, again. Everybody, please check out Mistare Fusion. The link is below, as well as Dragon Ball Dissection. I will put a direct link to the playlist so everybody can check it out. Plus, Mistare Fusion's got other videos like comparing wacky Star Trek stuff to Star Wars and the facts of life. And if you like Super Sentai, I've watched every one of your videos, all of them, I think. I
well,
think I have.
thank you.
I'm thinking. Yeah. He covered and the Power Rangers Super Sentai comparison. Huge videos for you. Over 100,000 views on all of them. Go check those out. And thank you for supporting Geekdom and supporting Mistare Fusion. And we'll catch you down the road.